What is the Grayslake Central Theater and Encore's history? How did it come to be, and why is it an important piece in Grayslake history?
In the beginning, productions were held in the big gym on the stage, which used to be a wall that had portions of it carved out in order to create a theater space. It also extended to the wrestling room and created a bigger space for performances. Since then, the fire marshal deemed it unsafe due to the fact that there were no back exits with the amount of people in the space at one time. That wouldn't have been safe in case of a fire. Productions were soon relocated to the arena where the company soon had to learn how to do theater in a round. The arena is nothing like it is now. There were light fixtures hanging costumes in the back, and each one of the classrooms in the back were areas for tech, like changing costumes and props. It was difficult to create meaningful productions in such a small space, however the students and directors managed to pull it together.
Eventually, the theater was built and productions were started in that building. The arena was later converted into a classroom space since the theater company was no longer in need of that space. With the new theater now built, making large-scale productions became way more accessible. The theater company went on to put together several large-scale shows, like Little Shop of Horrors, Cinderella, Spelling Bee, Footloose, and Les Mis. Not only did the buildings change, but so did the company. The theater company itself converted into many developments, including directors as well as the name of the theater company. Here to talk about this is the current director, Miss Ritter.
Hi, I'm Aaron Greenberg,
And I'm Miss Ritter.
and this is
Curious Grayslake.
So how did you become involved with theater at GCHS?
So when I was hired as an English teacher, I went through a new teacher orientation process where I met other teachers that were hired the same year as me. And at one of our new teacher meetings, the principal asked the icebreaker question: if you had to live on a deserted island and you could only bring one CD with you, what would you bring? It was 2007, CDs were a thing. And I said the soundtrack to the musical Rent because that's my favorite musical. And at the end of that icebreaker meeting, the fine arts department chair, Mrs. Google, who was hired at the same time, came up and introduced herself to me, and she was like, "So do you like theater?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like theater." And she's like, "Do you want to assist and direct the musical with me?" And I was like, "I've never done that before." And she's like, "Doesn't matter." And 12 years later, here I am. So that's how I got involved in theater at GCHS.
So when was Encore founded, and were there any names before then?
So the Encore Theater Company name actually came about in 1994 when the theater productions moved out of the big gym and into the arena. And before that, it was called the Orpheum Theater Company.
Directors shifted a lot. Back in 1971, Andy Gregory was the director. Gregory held all his productions in the big gym. During that time, the theater company was, as Miss Ritter said, called the Orpheum Theater Company. However, as we stated, when the fire marshal deemed the space unsafe, productions were shifted to the arena. Andy Gregory left and Fred Schenk took over. Fred Schenk was the director for 4 years. During that time, the company was called the Round Tableau. In 1994, the director shifted from Fred Schenk to Patrick Kerr. Patrick Kerr held all his productions in the arena until the theater was built. The theater was built in the late 90s, and the first production was held there in 2002. In 2012, Kerr handed off directing to Maureen Ritter, who now runs the company called Encore. And as for the person in charge of everything backstage, the tech director of GCHS, Mr. Evans.
I'm Aaron Greenberg,
And I'm Mr. Evans.
and this is Curious Grayslake. So with all the time and stress it takes to put on a production, why did you want to make this your career?
Fundamentally, I just love doing theater. It involves history and science and math and a little bit of everything. And I'm passionate about learning as much as possible. And working with kids allows me to be part of those discoveries, those new discoveries, whether on stage, backstage, or just in their lives. That you guys are right at sort of a turning point in your lives, and I get to be a part of that, and we get to make great theater together.
Encore and the theater have been pushing kids to get out of their comfort zones and strive to become better at things they love. It brings families and the community out of Grayslake together in ways that they hadn't seen since the start of the program. Without it, Grayslake would be more separated than it is now. Overall, the transition from the big gym to the arena, now to the theater, became something memorable. It created many productions in a big community that still to this day continues to grow. It's become an essential part of the school and the town of Grayslake. And this has been Curious Grayslake.